us on the bottom screen, Brett. Can you do the bottom
There he
screen?
is.
Hey,
Hey, Mr. Toss, how are you,
Mr.
buddy?
Tosi.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good, good.
Modern technology. It's amazing, isn't it?
Brett, just grab that in the center and shrink the
But we're
screen
met.
and open up our view. Right underneath between where our two pictures are, that little gray. Yeah, take that and shrink it down. Pull it down. Pull it
Are we
down.
live right
That's
now?
good. Awesome.
Look at that.
There we go.
You are live, sir.
Hey, we look pretty good.
Yeah, something like
Good
that.
morning and welcome to Wales Darby Seinfeld edition, the show about nothing. So
I like that.
we should have
Good
some
morning.
fun today.
Good morning. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got the brains, we got the looks, we got the muscle,
And toss.
and then we got the New York office.
Oh, brutal.
Well, I'll introduce myself first, if you don't mind. Good morning, Anthony Tosi with Wales Darby. Really looking forward to having some kind of, direction for today after a culmination of a few years of, think about COVID, but a few attempts at doing a couple of series of webinars. And between the five of us, one of our compadres is stuck in the Cross Bronx, but, we've collectively offered a lot of information to be out there to support, educate, and move what we do, as an industry forward. So today was like, hey, let's just have a round table. We haven't done this. I don't think we ever did this, maybe a happy hour once, but the thought was, go back out to you guys who have attended, maybe more than one, maybe you attended all of them. There's something that keeps bringing you back to what we're, really trying to build here is what we do in front of people, one-on-one, job sites, classroom settings, trade shows, and of course now the lovely world of webinars. So, it really was trying to get back in touch with you guys and not just guessing this is what you want. So, we're limited, but we're creative in the manufacturers that we represent. I'll just use an example. If you want to know about steam, yeah, we're really not the steam people. Can we talk about steam? Yeah, but I don't have products, so sometimes that I say there are limitations with that. So hopefully we have some questions that we can help you guys or hear, this was great, or hey, this was, could be better. I don't know. So whatever it is, we're hoping for the next 45 minutes to an hour, we'll have some interaction with people that are on this as well. So thank you for being here.
So I guess we second and third that and fourth that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Thank you. Very nice summary. Very nice opening, Anthony.
Thanks,
Well,
Jim.
So we should start it off with saying, hey, if you're out there, we see a bunch of guys on, just pop into the question area and say good morning so we know you're out there. If you have a question, just let us know. We'll open up your mic. You'll be able to ask a question live. Question, comments, whatever.
Type it in.
If you have a need or a desire, as Anthony was saying, that you would like us to go down that road for the next round of webinars, that's kind of the main driver of why we were trying to do it this way, is to make sure we're giving you what you're looking for. That's our goal. So
Yeah.
we'll take some notes throughout the class or throughout the wrap session and try to turn that into something for early 23.
Hey, good morning, Brian. Always good to see you. Buddy of mine from Cool Pro. He's on the island here. So just wanted to shout out to him. I always say this in some respect too. We're like kids in the candy store because we really have a lot to pick and choose from to build systems, right? So, Jim kind of likes what I say, you're only limited by your creativity. Now that's us, right? We live in a different world than maybe you as an installer or someone who's working for a contractor. You might have a lot of things up in your head, but you just can't get to practice it. You're, again, what the resources coming through the wholesaler, or maybe what the owner of the company just wants you to install it this way, So, there is so much more that we try to dabble in and just entice you a little bit to go, as I say, a little deeper. Just what's that next question? Why is that? Or how do I make this just that little bit better? There's that fine line between in heating and comfort, right? So you could be a heating guy or you could be in comfort. And there's a big difference as an end result, right? One is there's no water on the floor. I'm in the heating department, or now I have people that are just living in an environment that they never thought they could have before because I changed something, a little tweak, something about their house that for the last 20 years, and all of a sudden you show up because you got that one little bit more over the next guy, and that's really what we try and offer is just share all of our knowledge to you guys. So
Yeah, we're trying to make everybody better. We're trying to make everybody's business better. We see everybody out there working really, really hard, and I want everybody to get paid for that.
We're all for profit.
Yeah, this is an exciting time in this industry if you think about it because of all the changes that are coming. I mean, big changes that are coming, and this is a golden opportunity for everybody to learn these new things, start applying them, and become that expert. Anthony mentioned comfort. Anthony mentioned I'm a heating guy or I'm a comfort guy. That
energy,
is
comfort, energy as well.
and energy was next. Yes.
Yep.
So those are the three most important things that we do as an industry. And if I own all three, and I could be able to express that to customers, I'm going to grow my business.
I guess you can say you can work into any budget. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If you're just a heating guy, you just live in that budget. But if you're on all three platforms of heating, comfort, and energy, man, you're opening up so much more opportunity for you and your company or your business, like you said.
Yeah, it's funny because Jim and I had this conversation probably 3 to 4 years ago before COVID. So, we had a conversation. If you were to open a business today, what would it look like?
Yeah.
And I gotta say, with everything that's going on with electrification and whether we like it or not, it's happening all around us. I think from 4 to 5 years ago, when we had that sit down and that long conversation for like an hour, I think today it would be a little different.
I wanted to ask you that.
Yeah.
What would you consider that answer to be today?
So back then we had talked about, tankless water heaters,
Yep.
Condensing boilers,
Yep.
That type stuff. Today, you would have to look at heat pump water heaters.
Yeah.
You
You also mentioned the
heat
mini
pumps,
splits, yeah.
heat pumps,
in
air to
general.
air to water. Still tankless is in the conversation. Electric boilers has become a huge part of the conversation. We've all seen it. We've run around this side of the river with the trailer. Anthony's group has run around that side of the river with the electro trailer, showing off these electric boilers. And
Amazing
my
draw.
last life, I worked for a company with an electric boiler, and it went by the wayside. But
Hey, can I just put something out there, maybe as a change of vernacular, like a verbiage for that word electrification seems to really get people's hair up. You know what I mean? And I heard something the other day and I go, you know what? It kind of didn't sit well with me at first, but then it did. And I'm like, decarbonization, because that allows maybe not full on converting fossil to electric, but decarbonization kind of allows, we can play nice with both, we can have one or the other, we can't have just fossil fuel anymore. Maybe there is that handshaking or that overlapping, still having some, but not all fossil, and having some, but not all electric, And I think that's like that baby step. We need to kind of make people comfortable to be in the mindset of like something that isn't been for 100 years now in their life, fossil fuel or whatever kind of source they're using there, and just going flipping a switch, that just like,
I 100% agree with that. In our internal conversations, I've said it. We can't just automatically jump to one side. We have to, slowly work ourselves into it, because there's still going to be a lot of applications where these products that use fossil fuels to run are still going to be necessary. And at some point in time, we are going to be switching more towards that electrification. But that's not going to happen overnight, and I think that's something that really needs to be understood.
Well, look at the car industry, right? Car industry, everything was either gasoline or diesel. Now you got the hybrids in the middle, and then you got
Right.
the full-blown electric car, right?
Right.
With our jobs, there's no way we can go to an electric car. We do too many miles. So that hybrid world for us is like the optimum for us.
Sure.
And
Sure.
and we think that way every day, right? If I have, if I have an existing boiler system, but it's not at its mature date, but maybe we put some photovoltaic, solar panels somewhere and we're generating some electricity, right? Anthony and I had this conversation. He just had a big smile, right? Throwing that on the roof. We take and throw an electric boiler, and at a point we flop it over, or we throw a heat pump in at a temperature, we flop it over to the fossil fuel piece of equipment. So a ton of options out there, and we're just trying to make sure we open up everyone's eyes to what's available to them, and if they need it or need us to assist with how that looks going forward, that's why we do these things. So
I'll give you an example, and I thought this was a great spin for me. I did a very small snow melt job, right? It was tiny. It was like an apron. They just wanted it, but, and I wasn't doing the boiler, so it was by others. So I gave them everything they needed. I also offered them what we call in our Takeo world an XPB or X pump block because it was so small. Well, those are like the way of the dinosaurs. You can't find them, right? They're gone for supply reasons, right? So now it came back to me, hey, the wholesalers, you quoted them this, what can we do, right? How do I get around not having this product? I stuck in there a mini electric boiler. And I showed them the ease of installing this thing now. And the hard thing was, because it was a remote building, does he have electrical supply out there, right? Service. But because it was so tiny, the BTUs, it was literally a plug-in, piece of equipment, the appliance. But that electric gave him temperature, isolation. There was no heat exchange. Like all of a sudden, this one little thing provided a solution. And that's where I like to go with, like I say, a kid in the candy store and just looking for those different resources as to what we're building, walking in to fix by others maybe. There's such a long list of good products that I don't think a lot of people know about. And not to make this in a salesy thing, but as we've heard, like our I-Series valve is one of those forever items that just fits to make things better all the time. It's crazy. It's a modulating ball valve mixing device as well, which is really a great thing to upgrade. Now think about what we're doing going forward. Lowering water temperature is going to have to be for this new modern heating, right? So therefore, how do we bring even more and more into that world? And that's, I guess in some opinion, that's what this iValve has really done since they launched it many, many years ago. But I don't think a lot of people understand it and how it works and really the benefits of using it, maybe over a traditional thermostatic mixing valve. I'm trying to compare that to that. So.
I can answer it.
All right.
I'm good.
Well, along those lines, we got a good question from a very knowledgeable guy out there by the name of Steve Whelan, who is our NTI regional. And he's asking that he needs a 24 kW generator for his house, and he needs 150,000 BTUs for heat. So how large of a generator do I need to add an electro unit?
Yeah,
so Resso says he can
I
answer
can
it.
answer that, yeah, only because I got the book in front of me. So this is probably the biggest thing when we're talking about electric appliances, right? I mean, we had said earlier about them hybrid systems. We'd love to see, if someone's converting to a heat pump system and they're going to go with an electric boiler, if they have a existing fossil fuel boiler and it's not at mature date, we're going to leave it and we add electric to it. Number one item, whether we're talking about putting in an NTI condensing modulating piece of equipment or we're putting in an electric boiler, that really doesn't matter. We need to understand the load of the premise, right? What is the envelope? What is the BTU load needed? We have to do the math. If we don't do the math, this is going to be eye-opening to you. So if I go down and look at Steve's boiler and it says 150,000 BTU on the side, and Steve bought the house, it's an older house, and they put the boiler in maybe in the 60s, that boiler is probably oversized and potentially grossly oversized. So without doing a heat load calculation, if you walk down the basement and just go off the tag and say, I need 150,000 BTU electric boiler, you will need two 125 amp circuits to drive that electric boiler. So that's just unrealistic in most applications. So, we need to make sure we're doing the math. We need to make sure we're understanding the upgrades to that home that was built 40, 50, 60 years ago, windows, doors, insulation, siding, whatever it is. We need to do the full BTU calculate on the home, whatever program you use, and understand what the true BTU is. So for example, let's say we did the load on Steve's and he's done a ton of improvements at his house. Let's say he brought it down to 92,100 BTU. Then you're looking at 180 amp service, 180 amp breaker for that boiler. That's an enormous difference, right? That goes from possibly having a chance with that boiler or completely being out of the question. So that's kind of the stuff we look at. We look at that little footprint of that NTI boiler right there, and we can put, a million BTU in a very small spot with very minimal electric hook to it and let it condense and modulate and do a proper install to where we're getting the 95, 96% efficiency out of that boiler. But what we currently see every time we're out on job sites is, we're not necessarily applying the, I always say it's about, the right application for the appliance. And if we're putting a condensing boiler and expecting it to run at 190 degrees, that may not be the right application for that product. To all of the webinars that Anthony did talking about the lowering the water temperature, right? If we lower the water temperature, that's when we're going to get the efficiency out of that appliance. And that's really our goal. Without that, we're just wedging in a boiler, and then we go to job sites and there's no outdoor sensor. So now we put a condensing modulating piece of equipment in there that's going to operate more like an on-off piece of equipment because it's always going to hunt a target number instead of a fully modulating piece of equipment running off of outdoor temperature. And then the question always comes up, about I'm not comfortable. Well, we got boost in there,
Right.
And now this boiler has Wi-Fi in there, so we can utilize the Wi-Fi to look at, weather and temperature and set a curve on the boiler and let it run and do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, that doing the math or understanding what these systems can do and what a house actually needs is still our biggest hurdle.
Oh, it's huge.
It's still our biggest hurdle.
But it's a hurdle in our favor, right? If we were to look at the heat emitters, whatever they are, and really look at what's in the home from a heat emitter, let's call it baseboard, I'm hoping that it's 30, 40% oversized.
Right.
Maybe even 50% oversized. That's my hope, because now a condensing modulating piece of equipment makes perfect sense. But without ever looking at that,
Right. That's our biggest hurdle.
I think we've kind of heard this coined phrase. We went up to one of our manufacturers. They're becoming a source. I'm talking about Takeo with their System M, but I heard it there first was envelope over equipment, right? And that was, again, confirming what the actual space requires. And I don't think we've ever really put that as our best foot forward in anything, really. It's very, very small people that see that advantage. Having the true numbers, then build out from that, And now we're kind of doing that reverse engineering, like you're saying. Calculate what your emitters can supply and then learn how to lower water temperatures. We're delivering BTUs, not temperature. So people get locked into that, water temperature back at the boiler or the source. And that's really that's where we should focus on making that change.
yeah, right. Because let's back this way up, like you just said, back it up 40 years ago. When I came into this industry, which I don't want to admit how long ago that was, heat pumps were good to 40 degrees.
Right.
Right. And we still see some of that.
Money out of your
Not
pocket.
quite that high today, but we still see that. Now you look at Fujitsu getting down to -15 and delivering, 60 to 70% capacity at -15. So we can't, the BTU thing, like you said, is going by the wayside. We're just exchanging energy now. That's really, I think, more of the verbiage. We're exchanging energy, whether it's an air to water, whether it's a water to water, whether it's a gas condensing boiler, whether it's an electric boiler with elements, whether it's a hybrid heat pump water heater. We're figuring out ways to exchange energy. We're taking what's in the air and we're converting it into what we need it for. So that's really, like you said, the change of mindset. That's really where it has to go.
Yeah.
Because to your point about comfort, right? We want to use the least amount of energy to make us the most comfortable that we can be. And these new products, and even some of the older products that guys haven't wrapped their heads around yet, that's really the name of the game.
Right.
And once you figure that out, you're going to be different than, my son's friends when they were all young growing up. What car do you drive? Oh, Honda Accord or Honda Civic. Oh, me too, right? It's a me too. You don't want to be a me too. You want to be the other guy that's going to be able to, get his GP on his job and still deliver the right appliance for that application and make it work.
100%.
So
I was helping a customer out in Montauk, and they're redoing their home, or they're extending their home. And she was telling me everything that she has already installed, partially installed, what they're going to do by themselves. They want to do some radiant. I'm looking at the house, and she's telling me the boiler, and I go, well, are you adding another boiler? Because they're using this, I think, for the pool outside. And I go, well, are you expecting to have the pool on and the heat on in the house? Because, it's just grossly oversized. And I remember, and she's a contractor too. And I'm like, yeah, we got a good deal on it. I go, are you doing your neighbor's house as well?
Yeah.
It was
The whole street.
house,
Yeah.
Oh,
the
God.
house is 2,200 square foot. They have a 245,000 BTU boiler in there.
Because
And
they can.
Installed, I'm hoping, or the mindset was they were going to do something else for the house. But, man, for just to turn a zone of radiant on, that thing is going to be a beast, and I'm like, I was trying to just give her a little bit of a quick, scenario as to what's going to be happening in her home, but who knows, maybe I'll get an opportunity to sell her something side of that piece of equipment that's already partially installed. So,
Right.
yeah, there's a lot of room to educate people still,
Yeah, and we talk about, as we educate our trade and ourselves get educated and we educate our trade, we need our trade to be able to educate their end user.
Right.
Because Mr. and Mrs.
Trickle down.
Smith don't get it. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, because I deal with it every day. I deal with it with my young adults, actually not that young anymore, as they buy houses and whatever. And, why doesn't this last this long? Why doesn't this last 50 years? Or why do I have to replace it? And they really don't understand. And that's our biggest challenge. And as a tradesman, help us help you to give you those tools to educate those, our customers, your end users.
Yeah, I think there is that needing to still share beyond, our level to the contractor, wholesaler, definitely to whoever that new, like you said, new homeowner or second homeowner, maybe they lived with something, or I hear, as you say, I don't want to have, for whatever reason, right, the furnace gets a bad rap, right? So, in this particular case yesterday, she said, yeah, we don't really want this. It was what's existing. We'll eventually get rid of it. Because why? They want to do radiant throughout. So it's time versus budget for them, So they're going to build out and do what they can and eventually get rid of. And I'm like, that's why I was investigating what else this boiler was doing for them. And she had mentioned, this big old pool out in the backyard, I guess. So I was like, man, your heating is going to be an interesting season. That's all I have to say about a 7-section trio down in the basement, for a microzone calling and radiant, low temperature, something or other.
And one of the most important things I see, especially with my kids as they've, grown into adulthood and everything, is I keep telling them the infrastructure of their house is really what's more important.
Envelope.
That Kohler faucet is not going to keep you comfortable.
No.
Your wood floors are not going to keep you comfortable. Do you understand? Put your resources here, then branch out, and that is impossible.
Yeah, HVAC
to get through.
systems, and they always get short change. You get the smallest
That's
room.
like someone putting a new set of rims on a leased car. I don't get it. What are you doing? It's not even yours, Like, now we're going to put a couple $1,000s into something I don't own. Okay.
Yeah. So if we were to pose the question to the people that are on today, since we have the opportunity to talk about so much new stuff, so many new appliances, so many new systems, and there is a drive through the industry to make these things happen. How can we help you get this information out to your customers, you know?
Yeah, we understand you guys are slamming busy and you don't have time to do the research. It's our job to do the research with our manufacturers, take that message from the manufacturers and deliver it to you guys. But we really want to understand, you know, what are you getting questioned on? I mean, we've heard, you know, the condensing boiler phone calls, the electric boiler phone calls, the heat pump water heater phone calls. You know, this is what we get, the heat pump, you know, the Fujitsu, you know, how can I heat and cool this space? I just put an addition on. You know, we get those phone calls every day. And I guess we want to tap into what you guys as contractors are getting as phone calls so that we can take and design programs around helping you understand what that next step is. From, you know, Jim doing a sales, how to sell class to, you know, taking one of these things apart hands-on at your facility or at a job site. That's kind of what we do. Training, I always laugh and say from mild to wild. You know, we could do the simplest to sometimes it's crazy what we're out there in the field helping with, but it's what we do every day. And I know the phone calls I'm receiving are different than what I was receiving 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Just a different spin on these phone calls.
Yeah.
You know, I was at a job site in Westchester with one of our outside sales guys the other day, and they had to put 6 200-gallon storage tanks in for this multifamily home, and they were limited to, call it 500,000 BTUs of gas to make hot water. So they only had 245,000 BTU boilers, but they had to put 6 200-gallon storage tanks. So it's going to be that slow refill, right? That's all the gas they could get from, you know, the job site in Westchester. And that's going on everywhere. So how do we approach those jobs, right? It's just, there's so much changing out there, and it's changing really fast. And depending on what area you're in, you may be seeing it or not.
What is the solution, John? Are you doing a handshake to something else? Playing nice with
No,
them?
this was a install job, and we just went there because you know, they just wanted an overview. We met with the engineer and the property owner and just kind of wanted to talk through it because it's so different, right? Normally that would have probably 1.5 million BTU to drive the hot water needs, and they were limited to 500,000. So how do you offset that, right? It's always less to buy storage than it is to buy BTU. We have that joking conversation all the time. To walk into a boiler room on floor number 2, I believe it was, or floor number 1, to see 6 200-gallon storage tanks and then these 2 tiny little hot water boilers there, you know, it's just, it goes against how our brains are and you know, what we're used to seeing on a job site. So it's thinking outside the box. How do I support, you know, 200 apartments with only 500,000 BTU? So we have 2 more buildings we're going to look at with them. We're probably going to recalculate and do something even a little bit different going forward, just from what we learned in that boiler room that day. But you know, there's a lot of things changing out there rapidly, and you know, we're on those jobs every day. So if you need us as a resource, we're here.
Yeah, my mind's already spinning as to how to fix that job or help that job.
Help that job, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've seen something here in the questions, and Joseph was writing here, heat movers is a term he says we use. So I'm not really sure what heat movers are. Is that the boiler?
You're talking about, where I said we're moving energy? He says he's a heat mover. I like moving energy just because we do heating and cooling.
Yeah, that's true.
With air to air, we do it with air to water, you know. We do it with boilers. We do it with, you know, whatever type of boiler. So we do it all different ways. That's the only reason I use energy mover.
Yeah.
We're just exchanging energy through a appliance. We're, you know, using that appliance to extract energy from the source around it. Well, a heat pump water heater, a hot basement, Fujitsu outside, air outside, whatever it is, we're moving energy.
Yeah, I see. You know, you mentioned Fujitsu, and this is something as a technology leap, you know, leaps and bounds from what was traditional. It's, interworkings, computers, kind of, how it all plays nice and does its job so efficiently, right? It is a struggle, though, to get a person who's mechanically working on it to understand the inner workings, right? How it operates, what it needs to do to operate. When it has a problem, what is it telling you, whether it be, sight, listening, or, even flashing lights in that respect. So, in anything with technology, it's really not really slowing down for us, right? So it's a challenge for all of us on here, including the people attending. But think about even through the sales, the supply chain. For them, again, it's another new item. What does this replace? How do I sell what I've been currently selling now, shift here? And I've been using this thing as a phrase in training, is like, make this your hobby. And what I mean is, when I'm focusing on such a technical piece of equipment, let's say air source heat pump, computer, and all that good stuff, and that's the inner workings, like, you really need to understand how this thing works to install it better, to fix it better, apply it better, right? Or selection, even different features, different functions. But, and I actually said, you all have a hobby, whether it be guns, NASCAR, the umpteenth detail of your, whatever your hobby is. And that's what I'm kind of getting them to really trust, starting to look at manuals, look at, in this particular model, like, what are the features and why is it different than something that looks almost identical, maybe even has the same size number, but like, as we know in Fujitsu, letters and numbers represent something, maybe greatly different than that other one right next to it, So it's just, I'm trying to get them to dig a little deeper, look at it as you would maybe make this your hobby. That manual that you get every time and you don't look at it really holds the key of information to solve and make your life a lot frustrating, and that's, I think, what we deal with a lot is those phone calls. And we have to be, like I say, Inspector Clouseau or Columbo, you got to ask that one more question, just dive a little deeper to get that true, what's happening. Tell me about the space, who lives there, whatever. You got to think of all those variables, and then you have to try and make these people, see the difference. And sometimes they didn't want to listen to you. You can beat your head against the wall and say, this is what you need to do. Like Jim was saying, start with a heat loss or a heat gain. What really is the load? I do recall a space that got destroyed by mold, and the contractor was telling me about everything else except how he sized the equipment. And he mentioned something about a through the wall AC that was there for 20 years. And it was like a 9 to 12,000, a ton unit through the wall. And he puts an 18 Fujitsu in, and then he wants to wonder why, all this stuff is happening. And I'm like, well, how did you come up with selecting that piece of equipment? The truth is, in cooling, that thing needs to stay on. And because you went so much bigger, maybe fear or lack of wanting to do the right thing, let's call it what it is. Maybe this isn't all, he just figures a space, a cubic foot, whatever, square footage. And now it's more off than on. And now you have mold everywhere, destroying really valuable items. And that was his fear. Now, it's just kind of crazy where, I don't know how many times where we always start the conversation, heat loss, heat gain, do the math. These are not things just that, we just want to say. It's really the baseline approach to anything, to build, to design, to fix, to, confirm even what you're doing in the space. So,
yeah.
I don't know where we're going to go, in the next season, but, to show transitions, how do we do a handshake? How do we, do a confirm what size, here's that amp draw, like what size breakers do I need? Well, I don't have that. Well, what can I do still, having that two sides of both energies? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're approach.
Our line card here at Wales Darby allows us or gives us the opportunity to really have a lot of options.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I always tell a contractor, if you're taking me to your job, I said, I'm going to have at least a minimum of 3 solutions to your needs. If I didn't have all these other options, obviously I would be forced to only focus in one area. So we are I'll use the word blessed that our management has, paid attention and has kept growing our line card to allow us to do these different systems. But Anthony made a really good point. You really made a light bulb go off in my head to treat this as a hobby. We could talk to our contractors and ask them if they know the batting averages of the Yankees, and boom, there it is. So whatever your passion is outside of your work, it's amazing. And I'm sitting here actually saying to myself, yeah, I'm guilty of the same thing. The things that I'm interested in outside of work, I can go into great detail, and we do need to apply that to what we're doing here. And at the time right now, this is the best time because of all the major changes that are happening and are going to happen. And we have to open up our minds, not walk in that every solution is based on what I do now.
Yeah, right. You don't have any bad habits and you can still screw it up and learn how to improve.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it is so true that I've been listening to hearing stories at a counter or a salesperson telling me what he wants to sell me. In theory, I have an opportunity to do something far different than following the pack. You know what I mean? I have an opportunity just to do a little something off on the side and learn something that little bit more, unique. Let's call it what it is. You have to have that drive, though. Like I say, make this your hobby. And one of the things I draw out of the weeds is like what we do for R410A. When half the battle and what we're doing with a lot of our heat pumps is we can't make a proper leak-free system. And I'm like, gentlemen, what do you want to do here? That's where it all starts. And if you can't really be honest and say you're doing that, well then, today's a brand new day, so learn this stuff. Don't just listen to me. You want to read it, it says it right here, the side of the machine or the manual, or, get involved with the manufacturer. Hear what they want to tell you,
RTFM.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's free.
Read the full manual.
Full. That's
Full
correct.
manual.
Yes,
Manual.
full.
It's
Full.
free. It's a free manual too.
Yes. Yes. I
Family show.
family show. That's correct. I always tell everybody when I'm in front of them that you're going to be the masters of the basics when we're done with the class, with whatever we're presenting on. And I'm not sure if everybody realizes this is what we've been hammering home since day one.
Forever,
Yeah.
It's
And,
regurgitation.
yeah. So if we grab that and own that is going to open up the doors to all these other new things out there a lot easier for you.
Yeah, knowing and making sure you're participating in these rebate programs is another big driver of our industry right now. And supposedly come January, that's going to be even more of a driver with some of the new plans that'll be implicated for 2023. So the buckets, the money buckets for rebates will be refilled. We've already heard from a couple of manufacturers and a couple of energy companies that from the team that monitors the rebate money, let's call it that.
Right.
And they are telling us we're going to see some pretty aggressive rebates coming and go from there. And then just to Brian's point up there, yeah, I mean, it is moving heat, whether we're heating or cooling. Totally agree with the statement. Again, I'm not trying to say how you guys should explain it. I'm just saying how we explain it. And we use the word energy because that's part of our slogan. So that's why we use the word energy there. But yeah, you're absolutely right with what you're saying on the in the question box.
You want to take the next question there about Brian and brazing?
Yeah.
What
So
does that say?
on the
Leak-free
topic
systems,
of leak-free systems,
For brazing.
do we think that Fujitsu will ever make a system where the line sets are brazed as opposed to flaring? So that's a very good question. There's a multitude of reasons actually why mini split systems in general use flaring process as opposed to brazing. And the main reason behind that is because our EEV valves are very precise. Our refrigerant flow is very precise. It's controlled by the Fujitsu algorithm. which is controlled by all the temperatures that are being brought back into the board. And by doing that brazing process, we are taking the chance of possibly affecting how that refrigerant can flow. Whether brazing a 1/4-inch line and we get some of that braze inside the line, impeding the path of the refrigerant, or even if we're doing a braze fitting because we should be doing a purge every time we're doing that. A lot of times we could get that black oxidation on the inside of the pipe, and that could end up flaking off and making it back to our EEVs. So to think about an EEV, it's a needle valve that's about, an inch and a half, right?
Size of a pen tip.
Yeah, the size of a pen tip at the most. That can operate in any one of up to over 500 different step increments for precise refrigerant control. And, just throwing that off a little bit can throw off our capacity of our system. And we should be designing our systems precisely for what that environment is. So if we affect the refrigerant flow, that's going to affect a multitude of different things. So the flaring process is definitely a weak point. We do understand that. That's actually was where I was going next.
Hand that to him.
We haven't really gone too much into the Connex line in our most recent webinars. However, this is a big thing moving forward. One of the things that we have is flare to press fitting, which has a pre-built flare with a brass flare nut on it as well. That's going to match the manufacturer threads. So we don't have to make that flare. We can now do that with a press. So this is one of the ways that we can, get away from, that one issue that we consistently run into, which is a weak point on the installation when it comes to making the flares. And not only making the flares, but over tightening or not tightening enough on our flare nuts. If you have read through the Fujitsu manuals, every single time there is a torque setting chart that's available to you. So we should always be using torque wrenches. I think the most common leak point on our systems is going to be on the 1/4-inch line because it's over tightened.
So the question there, Brian's asking another question, if you can put a dryer on the line to prevent any of that buildup from happening in the valve.
So a dryer actually in our case becomes more of an obstruction than anything.
We have a strainer.
Yeah, there's a strainer built into our unit. That if it does get clogged can be replaced. But a filter dryer, not really necessary. We should be making sure that our leak testing and evacuation process is done correctly. And in that case, if that's done correctly, we should have no need to install a filter dryer.
Clean, tight, and dry, right?
Yep, that's it.
Refrigerant circuit, clean, tight, and dry.
Right.
Yep.
So when we find debris in the system, the question is, where did that come from?
Yeah, and a lot of guys out there don't understand that when we're installing mini split systems, brand X, brand Y, brand Z, doesn't matter. That leak test and that evacuation is going to be absolutely key.
And it's even more key because a lot of guys that are conventional, right? There's going to be some changes to conventional equipment coming.
Big time.
Sure.
Q1 23. Efficiency changes,
Yep.
So it makes the mini split world more viable from a cost standpoint.
Yep.
If I'm doing conventional every day, what am I testing? Most guys, what are they telling us they're testing to on conventional with pressure?
250.
250, maybe 300. A crazy guy might say 350.
Right.
Right. I mean, we run in heating mode, and we don't make just air conditioners anymore on the Fujitsu side of things. So we'll run at 450, 460, 462.
Yeah.
So if you're pressure checking out like a conventional system doing in the mini split world, brand X, Y, or Z, you're not getting there. Your first test of your line set is going to be when you turn the heat on.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we're testing above that. I mean, we preach in all of our trainings, you know, we're in a 500.
What's
you
the
know.
most common phone call you receive on heat pump systems?
Worked
Right-
great,
right
worked
around-
great
right,
until
yeah.
the heat came on.
Yeah, as soon as we
worked-
turned on the heat, that's when we
Yeah.
got those 10-1 error codes.
Right, but the other side of that too is, you know, that's a tool change, right?
Yeah.
You got to get a regulator that'll get you up to that 600 PSI off your
Yeah.
nitrogen tank, and guys push back on that. My son's a diesel mechanic, so a contractor can't push back because my kid, every time they buy a new truck at the shop he works at, he's buying new tools,
Sure.
right? It's just the way it is. If you're going to be in this industry, you're going to do it right, you're going to put your best foot forward, you have to stay on top of the equipment you need. The last time I did a training class for Fujitsu, the contractor called me and said, I can't do mini splits anymore. And I said, but you told me that's like a third of the phone calls into your company was related to mini splits. And he said, it is, but I'm going broke. I said, why? He says, I have leaks. So I cut up a bunch of line set and threw the isoclimate down on his counter, had all the guys go out and get their flaring tool, you know, about halfway through the class. They all went out and got their flaring tool. It said, take a piece, go over in the corner, wherever you want to go stand, make me 2 flares. Brought the flares back. I had a Fujitsu valve with me. We started matching these flares up to the Fujitsu valve, and 4 of the 11 guys in the room made a flare that was good.
Wow.
He immediately switched to the Connex flare to press. He's flying right now in the mini split world.
Yeah.
So if you're experiencing that, we have a solution. So, I mean, that's kind of where you lean on us, is when you're having a problem, lean on us. We'll help you figure out the solution. That's kind of what we do on a daily basis.
You know, toward what Anthony said earlier and tying it to what you just said now, one of my hobbies is in the fitness area. So if there's a lift you're trying to do and you're struggling with it, you have to find out what your weak point is. So in his business, he identified what his weak
That's
point
right.
is, but he quit. And you brought in a solution to him to say, hey, this is how we can fix this weak point. And now he's growing his business. So think about that, gentlemen. You know.
So let me go another step further, because I got another phone call the
All right,
other
cool.
day, and I'm going to ask, after this is over, I'm going to ask Rob to meet me on this one, and you're welcome also. So his next phone call to me was, hey, what happens, and we get this question all the time, and you guys know this, what happens nights and weekends? Who can I call nights and weekends if I have a problem with, you know, whether any one of these products up here? Who do I call? There's nobody, right? And I don't know about you guys, but, you know, I like a little bit of time
Yeah, sure.
to do something. I'll answer the phone if I'm near it, but there's times I'm doing things, right? So I said, okay, no problem.
Depends on who's
We
calling.
We come in. We're
Well, it
gonna,
depends on who's calling, John.
yeah. I said, I'll come in. I'll bring a couple guys with me. You put as many guys in the class as you want, and we are going to show them. This happens to be on Fujitsu. We're going to show them every tool that we use when you call us. And we're going to get your guys up to speed in an hour and a half to 2 hours, and they're going to have every resource that we have at night and on the weekends. He says, how soon can we do it? Because he knows his business is transitioning, and the mini splits have really, he said, it's taken over 1/3 of his business.
Yeah. Oh, I could see
So, you
I
know,
could
that's
see
what
it.
he's doing to transition into the mini split world.
Yep.
So that's all it takes. If you guys have a need, let us know. I mean, we'll design something, help you develop something to correct whatever those hurdles are,
Yeah.
Sure.
and keep rolling.
What are we seeing? We're seeing more and more electricians
Oh,
come
yeah.
into that
yeah.
side of the business.
Matter of fact, one of my biggest contractors is his company, New Vision Electrical. He started out just doing electric, and now he's doing a lot of mini splits. Matter of fact, I would say probably about 50% of his work is now on mini splits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we see that in training classes all the time, right? They said the electrician comes to the class, and everybody introduce themselves. What do you do? Well, I'm an electrician. Okay, explain, because I wanted to understand why an electrician's in the room. And they're like, well, I was partnered up with a plumber who didn't do electric. He would install the mini split. I would go wire the mini split. And then that relationship fell apart. And he's seen the profitability in the mini split world. So as you said, he took a portion of his electrical business and flopped it into the mini split world.
Yeah.
And he's off and running.
Right.
And even, the guys on the oil side are starting to,
They have to.
yeah.
They have
They
to.
have to.
Yeah.
Right.
They have to. And that's the guys, we're ready to get them up to speed.
Sure.
Right. Anthony, I would assume you're seeing the same thing in your territory too, correct?
Yeah, it's interesting because we have a neighbor where we park our truck. It's it's a garage that we rent from another business, and then right on the other side of the fence, it is an electrician, and then I've seen him with mini splits, literally, I'm peeking over like Waldo, like what's going on over here, or Kilroy, whatever. And I'm like, what brand is that? It was just an off brand. I can't even say I was really aware with. Wasn't ours, obviously, but or like a main brand. But I was like, yeah, that's interesting to see. And more you hear about that. Like I've done breweries, right? Microbreweries on Long Island, and I go and pitch hours with a contractor. I give them all the information. I follow up with the contractor, and I remember hearing this very specifically. Like, yeah, he decided to go with his electrician to install whatever brand he had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Well, good luck to him. I hope he makes really good beer. Like I don't know what else to say to the guy, but it's the clashing of industries again. Electrification, decarbonization, whatever. In that respect, too, I even pitched to our own people. Should we, with what we're thinking is going to grow, marry up or partner up with electrical supply houses? Think about what we do as a rep, and we get kind of shoehorn locked in to just, the same old, same old. Well, how do we grow and, kind of expand out from there as well? And I think of the word that we use all the time. Well, who sells that product? So, if our traditional partners aren't going to be full on board, we should really see what they're listening to, as far as that side of that industry. Electric is a part of comfort. If you cannot deny it. So what do they want to do? I want to step into that door and be the first guy, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'll be the 8th guy. I don't know. And that's what I want to go and talk to a supply house, not in our traditional sense, but maybe outside and see what they're seeing, what they're listening to. Hey, is there opportunities to put stuff on the shelf there? And then here we have a brand new audience. Let's go talk to electricians. Last time I talked to electricians was about switching relays and zone valve controllers, and I almost got thrown off the stage, because I was taking their labor away, and they were all pissed off at me. So I'm like, hey, I don't know. I was just here to show you features and benefits on a product that I can offer. It was kind of funny, actually.
Yeah.
Jimmy Fry was there, by the way. He almost had to pull me off the stage one night. So.
Well, you said a key word was opportunity. So if another trade is seeing the opportunity within our industry and they're jumping on it, we're hoping our audience sees the same thing.
Yeah.
And
I just hope that we don't put horse blinders on because he's an electrician. Well, you got to stop thinking he's an electrician.
No, we see it all the time.
We don't.
Hey, we represent a wire. We represent a wire manufacturer now. So right, we're comfortable looking at and talking to the electricians. So
right.
I've pitched the ideas of what we're trying to step into, right? Not the norm. And I'm saying, hey, partner with a PV solar company. If that homeowner is already mindset in that, then you have an opportunity to talk about, Fujitsu, maybe even something more electrifying the house or whatever. The opportunities will be there if you're savvy enough. If you're just looking to put your tentacles out and have a little over here and a little over there, you're going to grow. You're going to do more and more.
Yeah, and there's always analytics for just about everything now, almost to the point where it drives you crazy. And when you start to look at analytics, when you start to look at analytics of your own business, what is going to?
You guys are starting to scare me over there.
Well,
someone has a question and someone has a page with an answer on it. What's going on?
Well, what's going to happen to their business? What's going to go away, and what are they going to replace that with, right? So if you do analytics on your own business, what's going to go away?
Absolutely.
How many oil service calls are you going to end up with in the next 5 years?
Right.
Is that going to start to go away? I don't know. But it seems
how do you
like
grow what's shrinking? You know what I mean?
So, exactly. Right. If you're shrinking this much, are you growing that much on the other end? Plus your whatever you want to grow on top of that.
Sure.
Because in our minds, you know, you're getting better or you're getting worse. There's no such thing in our minds as staying the same. And in our minds, we like to preach the mantra, we're always getting better.
Trying to.
Yeah, work on it. That's what we do.
You know, Anthony brought up the point when we were meeting before we were going to come on for this open forum a few weeks ago. He's like, hey, what were our top 5 webinars? What were the top 5 attended or got the most questions? And interesting enough, from 5 up, air to water, the hydronic air to water. Next was venting, and that was our Centrotherm product. Then next up was Fujitsu installation, which is kind of what we've been talking about. Next up was troubleshooting. And the top one was actually plumbing solutions. You know, when we did Uponor and Takeo, we concentrated on recirc and just running, you know, a better plumbing system.
Yeah.
You know, all the other ones that were below, very, very, you know, tiny increments of why they didn't make top 5. So we feel we're hitting the mark with what you guys want. The reason for this forum was to really get more ideas from you as to where we can help you. Again, we are limited to what we represent, but we, again, are very creative. I am blessed to work with guys who are extremely smart, smarter than me, but I'm still the best looking, but very creative. And we can do a lot of, well, I always have to throw a joke
I
in.
called you the brains at the beginning of this opera.
No. The brains are this way. No.
Oh my God.
I'm the eye candy. Anyway, you know, so what we're trying to do is really model this to where, again, we can help you guys. You know, I brought this up a couple of times now, but you know, we're really serious about this.
Yeah, I kind of throw in when I'm saying goodbye or whatever. It's like, hey, listen, just because class is over doesn't mean we can't talk. So, you know, sharing information, contact information, emails, you know, all that stuff is always around you for us to get in touch with. So, hey, I have a situation, I have a question, or, you know, you said something. So don't think the follow-up is, and I say this to my own people, what are we doing after we did all our efforts, right? Where's the follow-up? How do we reconnect with the people that actually said they want to be a part of us? And that's no different leaving today. So you have some topics, hey, you know what, in my area or whatever, I'm having problems. Like John said, we're hoping to provide not just another product for you to install, but the solution and grow. And, you know, I would say you can make a lot of money fixing other people's problems if you just see it differently, you know?
Yeah. So a large contractor who I was with yesterday, and there was a training class on venting on the Centrotherm product.
Yep.
And that was generated from one of his techs saying, boss, we need help here. We should be doing this right. And he works for a very progressive gentleman who said, okay, set it up. Good. From there, we asked him, what else can we help you with? These are the other things that we offer. And we're going to have 3 other classes when it comes to, you know, our general hydronics, where we're sizing pipe, sizing pump, low voltage wiring, you know, and we'll probably talk about air to water heat pumps because that's what's sexy right now, right?
Yeah. You know, just not to say that you may have heard me say, you know, power of 3, and that was just my little spin on, I'm being called to a contractor. He's having a problem. You know, I get that. I think I have a solution. I bring the solution, and then I bring just that next level also. Hey, by the way, I kind of want to bring them in. Hey, are you in the know? You know, did you see this yet? You know, or hey, this is what I'm really working on. You know, I'm glad you asked me, you trust me. I come in and I have a discussion. We come up with a plan. Here's a fix for that. But you know, how about the next 3 years or 5, you know, whatever it is, the next level of what we are privy to, like you said, for our internals, our people that are seeing where we should be dabbling, right? Because of new technologies and change in the industry. We've always kind of wanted to be in the forefront. You know, it's kind of hard to be out there all the time because you're talking about stuff that nobody even knows about yet. So, you know, you gotta keep having a lot of, what was used to say, the spinning plates, right? And I can't believe I'm repeating this, right? So the spinning plates are, sometimes you have 16 of them going and one starts to wobble, and you kind of have to play nice with all of them, but you don't want one to fall. So how much time you put here or there or wherever. We have core, and then we have fringes, right? And as far as products, and I think we can play as a group in a lot of those areas, and sometimes we can get a little too far out there and you're standing alone, but then all of a sudden it's slow. People will follow you, but you try and be that guy.
Yeah. Brian put a statement up there.
Yeah.
And I can completely understand that. I think we all can understand that. And it's another part of our business, and that includes what we do, right? What we do, we need to market ourselves. So yeah, my youngest, who bought a house and has been in the process of rehabbing it, I can't tell you how many boxes have come from supplyhouse.com to my home. You would think I was a contractor. And it's all the frill stuff that she's been buying. When I say frill, I'm talking about a faucet. I'm talking about mirrors, things of that nature. Just, going direct, where in the past it would have gone through, traditional distribution. So Brian's saying that, anybody can buy mini splits or buy this equipment online, put it in, and then they got a problem afterwards. So, okay, Brian, what's the opportunity there? You can go back and fix it for them and get paid where
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
Nobody's doing that. Or we market ourselves as what we do and what we do the best out there. And
Yeah, and like most of our manufacturers, I don't know of any that don't monitor it, but most of them have, what's like a nationwide pricing program to make sure that if this stuff is on the internet, it's priced properly. And then some of our manufacturers, if it's purchased through the internet, voids the warranty. So it's always important to know that about the products you're installing, what the policy is for online purchases, and partner with good top end products, and that'll just do you better across the board.
yeah, I always want. I'm sorry, Rob. I always want you as the contractor to sell yourself at all times. So if I'm the contractor, I'm walking into Mr. Tosi's house and he's asking me about, hey, I need a new boiler, I'm putting an addition on, I need to, condition it. I'm going to tell him all the things I'm going to do to give him his solutions. And I'm going to tell him, I'm going to offer him multiple solutions so he can make the best decision. That's extremely empowering to your customer, and that's going to build a huge level of trust. I don't trust somebody who walks into my house and just tells me one thing, that's it, and can't explain it to me. You're out. You're out.
Need a 4-section boiler, Jim.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes,
Where's
getting
the
back
basement
to that
door?
point, I don't think people really truly understand the amount of support you get when purchasing from distribution. You get the distribution TSAs, you get guys like us in the Contractor Services Group. We have a multitude of different avenues that we could travel. And then the manufacturers themselves, we really work well as a team with all of our partners, and we're able to provide a level of support that, I don't like to tap myself on the shoulders too much, but
Second to none.
yeah, we pride ourselves on the amount of support that we can provide for our contractors. So
How do you charge for that time from Jeff Kelly, that extra? Well, wow, good question. There's a cost of doing business. There's a cost of doing business for us when we get in our car and we drive 100 miles to a job site. That costs the company,
But we do it every day.
but we do it every day. Those are the things we have to think about, Jeff, you got to think about that too.
The hope, I guess, from a contractor standpoint is that you're over servicing the customer, and the word of mouth and taking over the neighborhood, so to speak, offset some of that cost. And in the beginning, it's definitely a cost. There's no doubt. And everybody has salespeople, and everybody wants to make a ton of money. We know that, but making that homeowner know and trust that what you're going to do is correct pays fivefold, you know, whether they're talking about it at work, how, you know, Jeff's company came in and did X at my house, and oh my God, it's amazing, right? I've never felt so cool, or I've never felt so warm, or I never had such good hot water, whatever it might be. And that just snowballs. So hopefully you can, you know, you'll get it back that way in growth. But it's a concern, right? Cost is always a concern. Inflation, fuel prices, you know, all that stuff contributes to what it costs you to open your door every day. So we understand that. The reason we do these classes is to help you do things one time.
Right.
And hopefully, you know, get it right the first time. And I think that pays large dividends also, just from the nightmarish jobs that we're on. And we take that as an opportunity to elevate that contractor. And hopefully because of that, you know, they might go kicking and screaming, but when they make the changes and it works, hopefully you've made a friend. And we do these webinars to look at you guys as we look at, these guys are my family. You know, I spend probably as much time with them as I do home. So we look at everybody on these webinars and our contractors that they're friends. You know, it's not, it's more of a friendly relationship, and we build that over time.
Right.
Trust and friendship.
Yeah. I mean, I get teased from my family about this all the time. Using the tools that are available to you. Like, what am I talking about right now? Social media. We see guys growing their business by leaps and bounds by showing their work.
Yep.
Not even saying a word.
Yep.
I think a lot of people know Flintstone. You see him out there on Instagram all the time, showing his work, and the amount of boilers he's put in has quadrupled. It's endless now. So you have tools. We have to keep sharpening our tools. We have to keep getting better and using these tools to grow our business.
Yeah, we've added to our marketing department. So we have some tools. We got some cameras now. We can go on site. We can do a lot of different things that we couldn't do in the past, and we're getting better at it. And you know, if you're proud of a job that you have and you want to send us photos, don't be surprised if you see us on site with our 2023 training.
That's it.
From a basement near you, or from a house near you, something. We will be out and about.
Roofs.
Yeah.
No roofs.
Yeah, no roofs. So yeah, we're probably going to incorporate that into some of our webinars going forward. So if you got a job, boom, let us know.
What's this here? This looks pretty cool.
What do you got?
I'd like to see a series of videos that are categories of solutions. And once you make the first contact, then give the customer a link to the appropriate solution that they can watch after you go. Just spitballing.
Yeah.
Excellent
That is good.
idea.
Yeah,
and guess what?
We got some of that.
Our manufacturers have that on their websites.
A lot of them do.
Yeah, they really do.
Yeah, what they don't have, we're gonna start to make you know, like under 2-minute YouTube clips. We've been talking about it for a while, and hopefully we can carve out the time to do it. You know, to whether it's setting a function code on a UZ5 Fujitsu controller to make your system sing, or if it's you know, walking through a program on a heat pump water heater, you know, whatever. We're gonna start to hopefully carve out some time to do some of that also. But yeah, that's awesome.
But behind us, we've got products where all these different manufacturers have YouTube clips, you know, different videos on these that are short, as my son calls them, Dad, they're shorts. They're like, you know, under a minute. They give the, you know, the highlights. And then, gentlemen, while you're out there in front of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, this is where you shine to fill in the blanks, because you're going to answer their questions, you know. Because
we also have
sales training, we get that a lot too on there.
we do.
Yeah, it's up there
Okay.
again. So
we also have a recommendation for for more classes on sales.
yeah,
So yeah, that's something that we always want to incorporate as well. As a matter of fact, every time we have an internal meeting with one of our manufacturers, a lot of the conversation is around exactly that. So we do want to share some of the knowledge that we pick up from our partners, you know, down to the contractor level. So yeah, that's something that you can definitely look forward to seeing in the future. So thank you for that.
Right.
Yeah, we got a lot of hands-on stuff too, guys. You know, you see us just here doing webinars, but we've built out a lot of hands-on carts and so on and so on. We have the ability to do a lot of
Tear down
hands-on trainings,
tankless trainings and
a lot of different things.
tear
Yeah.
down Fujitsu. Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff, you make a very interesting statement. I think you're being concerned about spending your customers' money, and that's the
Don't.
customer's job.
Right.
I have been guilty of walking to a project, looking at it, saying, there's no way we can do X, Y, and Z here. They can't afford it. Get that out of your head. Let them decide how they're going to spend their money. Be proud of showing them the best solution up front,
Absolutely.
and be proud that it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, listen, if you wanna have all of the problems that you have mentioned to me in our conversation, we have this package. That could be out of your price realm. If not, we can solve some of your problems with this package, or we can give you the basic and just, go from that point.
don't ever even ask or give them the thought that they can't afford it.
Right.
Oh, that could be highly insulting.
Right.
You have no idea what that customer has in the bank.
Yeah, we just want to give them the options.
That's right. Give them the options, but we got to educate them every step of the way as to why this is the best option for them. And if they ask you for what the next option is, we should be prepared.
Let them make the suggestion.
That's right.
We don't ever want to assume anything.
I mean, if a contractor comes to my home for things that I cannot do, I'm asking them these questions. And if I can't get anything else out of that particular company, I'm going to look for other companies because I want to know my other options,
I used my gutter story.
Gutter?
Gutters. When I had gutters put on my house, I said to the guy, is this I'm getting 3 proposal price, or is this I'm putting gutters on your house to stay there for 20 years? And he looked at me sideways because, I really wasn't going to get 3 prices because I didn't want to waste that much time, but I just wanted the job done right. So I said to the guy, give me the price. This is the price I'm getting 3 other estimates. Give me the price where you're doing the job. And the price went up a little bit, but you know what? The gutters are still on my house, thank goodness. And I was happy to pay the extra money because that's my mentality.
Yeah.
So, don't assume. He gave me the rock bottom number, and that wasn't what I was looking for.
Yeah.
So,
And just by seeing it with my my kids as they've grown into being homeowners, generally I always give them 3 or 4 contractors that I know within a certain industry that do great work. And if it's 3 people, maybe one of those contractors called them back. So be that guy who calls them back.
Yeah.
You may be the only one. And I think 80% of the time you will be the only one. Don't get me started here. I can go on for an hour on this. So anyway, that's right, Anthony. $1 million can fix just about anything in your home.
I'm good.
I'm good too.
Yeah.
I'm good too.
Had a good time.
Yeah.
Look forward to the webinars in 2023, and hopefully you guys will go for a ride with us again in the spring and spread the word. Like to get more people involved, and if you need us, we're here.
Right.
Please reach out.
To give you a teaser, there's going to be a lot of air to water type of product we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, we have to.
We just have to. But we're also going to keep going with the things that have been tried and true for us. We always will tweak them. We'll always try to make them as best as we can. These gentlemen I work with are really, really some of the best people. They have made me better. So after we sign off today, if there's something you think about, say, hey, can you do this? Can you help me here? Email us. Email us at walesdarby@marketing.com. I think everybody should have all our individual emails that we've always used at the end of our classes. So something you think about, please email us, let us know, because we're in the process now of putting together our spring training series. Anthony, in closing, what do you got, man?
Just be aware, I did add our line sheet there, so it should be double-sided or 2 pages where you'll see hopefully the most current lineup of our manufacturers and then our contact information. So you do have the ability to grab that. It's in your handouts. And like I say, it's it's important to keep the conversation going, you know? It's just not wait for the next job or something you come across you're not aware of. You know, if there's something right now, immediately after leaving and, you know, you pique some interest or tell me more, you know, that's where we want to start growing today, you know, what we're doing for the next 5-10 years. So interesting stuff. And don't be afraid of the new one, you know, the newer stuff, you know. I said this in another class, like get in touch with, you know, us, your wholesalers, you know, you have manufacturers, reps, and then certainly you have the manufacturers themselves. So they're all accessible. And Jim was mentioning social media. I don't know how you feel about that, if you're involved with that. You just want to dabble and just look, you know, look from an outward in kind of preview and see what's happening. But it's an amazing amount of information that people are just delivering to you through photos or just tagging something. But, you know, get involved there. It's
Yes.
not going away. You know, it's
Yes.
going to have business, you know, it's going to have some part to do with business as well.
Yeah. People will find you if you post pictures of your jobs. They will find you because that's where they are looking. That's where they're looking. All right. This can go on and on. So we thank you very much. And we'll catch you come the
See
come
you
the
next
spring
year.
season.
Yeah, happy holidays,
happy
everybody,
holidays,
and all
yeah.
that good
Happy
stuff. And
holidays.
see you next
Happy
year.
and healthy.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen, be well. Thank you so much, everybody, and get home safe.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Anthony.
Bye,
Thank you,
guys.
Jim and John.
Josh.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Chris. Absolutely.
Wherever you are at the moment. All right, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Darby.
Ricky K,
Yeah.
see you, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ricky.